Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is the take on this Thursday morning, and the dislocation in the market did stand out yesterday, but a lot of that was really just basically predicated on what happened in Netflix yesterday. But before we get there, let's just take a look at the Dow. So the Dow had to have a little bit of a recovery late, did close up pretty nicely, 250 points to the upside yesterday for the close. It was in positive territory for the entire day. On the other hand, you look over at the NASDAQ, and as I say, a little bit of a dislocation. A lot of that, as crazy as it sounds, is really one stock, but it was more than just one stock. But certainly that was a huge influence, and we're talking about Netflix and what happened with the earnings. NASDAQ did finish down about 1% yesterday, about 166 points or so. We also had a little bit of a pullback in the price of crude, down towards 102.50. Today, we're seeing a nice bounce off of that. The 10-year kind of hanging around this 284 to 29 sort of an area is where we find ourselves. Yesterday, around 284. Volatility index, we were talking about it yesterday here. We talked about maybe we'd see a little bit of a dip. We did get under 20 for a moment, but generally we held on, and we stayed right in a very, very tight range with the volatility index yesterday, right around 2050. Volumes, I wanted to make a point about this, and I bring this up all the time, but I'll give it a little bit more defined. So yesterday, 34.8 million was the number. That sounds great. In any other marketplace, that would have been great. But over the last year or two, we've been watching these volumes go to the upside. So I took a quick look just to make sure. So far in April, and we are getting through April pretty rapidly, 37.6 million is the average. So yesterday's 34 was even below that, obviously. But the year-to-date average is still about 42 million per day. So that gives you an idea of when we talk about felt a little bit lighter, did feel, this whole month has been playing out like that. So you look at April, significantly, call it about 5 million contracts short of what's the average has been so far for 2022. Gives you a little bit of an idea of the background of why I'm bringing up some of those volumes sounding so big, but actually, relatively speaking, they are not. The communication sector, that was the sector under pressure. It wasn't just Netflix, but certainly Netflix was the biggest contributor to that, down about 35% yesterday. That was a massive drop. We had the communication sector was actually down 4%. That is a very, very large move for any of these major sectors, especially when you consider the size of these sectors and so forth and all the various stocks. But it did drag down plenty of other names along with it. Technology, semiconductors, actually about flat yesterday, nothing terrible. You look at the financials, up nearly 1%, a little less than that. Healthcare up about 1.5%, staples up about 1.5%. You get the idea. The Dow-related type stocks, that's why the Dow finished up 250 points. It was up as much as 300 points plus yesterday, but finished up 250 points. Why was that? The strength coming from names like IBM. Then you look over and you see Cisco, and we look at Monster, and then we look at Walgreens, Coca-Cola. Procter & Gamble was another one that we were focused on yesterday as far as their earnings, United Health. Those were the kinds of names that actually had some of the strength yesterday. The pressure on the market coming from Netflix, not just Netflix alone, but primarily Netflix. When you get a stock with that kind of a market cap down 35%, that is a pretty extraordinary move. Throw in PayPal, throw in a little bit of Match. Paramount, we talk about some of the various names, Paramount being one of those in the streaming sector, that was getting hammered. Disney streaming, that was getting hammered. Then add some of the other names. Tesla did have some pressure going into the earnings. Those folks are feeling a little bit queasy today after that, how they traded yesterday based upon what we're seeing today. Lulu did pull back a little bit. It had this great run off of their earnings, some more positive talk chatter yesterday, but it was getting pulled down a little bit as well. DocuSign, Facebook, Zoom, you get the idea. Those were the names that were actually really kind of pulling on the market, specifically on the NASDAQ yesterday. So as we get into today, we've got both the NASDAQ and the Dow early on having a pretty good start to the day, along with the S&P. S&P up about 36 points in the pre-market. You got the NASDAQ up 155 points. You got the NASDAQ up 155 points. The Dow up about 235 points. Then we started to go even a little bit better, starting to power up. Then we've kind of pulled back a little bit. We've been kind of gliding around within the marketplace, but still staying very, very positive. Last I looked, the Dow was up about 230 and the NASDAQ, which was up 250, up about 115. So some of those early gains kind of giving back. And some of those names, Specifically, I would focus on Tesla because Tesla had a monster start to the day. It's given back some. It's still doing extremely well, but it started off the day really, really powerful move to the upside, up more than 7% early on. They beat on the top and bottom. They had great margins. They did everything that you would have wanted out of Tesla. And speaking and sticking for a moment with the earnings, United Airlines, American Airlines, all giving those strong forecasts. A lot of that may be predicated upon the fact that we'd heard just the other day about the mask mandates being lifted and some of that. There's a lot of different areas within the travel space and leisure space that are starting to get a little bit of a tailwind potential. We'll see how long that lives out. But we also have crude. I talked about a 102. Here we are today about 105. You got the 10-year near 2.9. It was 289 last I looked. Volatility index right around 20. It's been underneath 20, been just a little bit above 20, but looking at the volatility index, wouldn't be too shocked if we actually get back below 20 today, but it depends on obviously how things play out. We're just in the first hour of trade. Consumer discretion, that was up about 3% early on. A lot of that coming from Tesla. Now it's up about 1.7%. You can see that you're seeing a little bit of that pullback that I was talking about in Tesla reflected there. Technology was up about 2%. That's now up about 1.25%. Financials were up nearly 1%, now about 0.75%. Semiconductors have eased back a little bit. Energy made a turn in the other direction because early on, energy, the price of crude was a little bit lower, made a little jump towards 105. Energy, which was in the red, actually up about almost 0.75%. So as we go through it, the powerful names that are moving this market, it's Tesla, it's United, it's American Airlines. Then you've got some of the rail space as well with CSX having a great day up about 5%. You also have the leisure side and the cruise ships. And I look at Carnival Cruise up about 4%. NVIDIA was up early about 4%. Throw in Lucid, throw in Dow, throw in Boeing, all having a pretty good day. And Nucor, let's not look past that in terms of the material space, having a really outstanding day as well. Not the same thing going on with Freeport Mac with a little bit of pressure. I look over at Newmont Mines, down a little bit. Netflix down, not terrible, but down a little bit. It's been moving around today. Moderna, you look over at Chevron, early at least, was down. And obviously, as that's turned with crude, we may be seeing Chevron actually move back into the green. Then you got a name like Merck. So there's a lot of different things going on. But when Tesla comes out with the kind of numbers that they had, including record profits, you can understand why that is a huge focal point for everybody, at least early on. And just throw in there, and the Twitter and the possible financing that's going, that potentially could be there for Elon Musk as well. Very, very big day for Elon again. So that's something that does stand out. Pepsi, that's my number one. That's going to be the first one. Trading just around $177. 4,800 of tomorrow's expiring April 22nd. That is tomorrow. Those expiring calls that are the 177.5 calls. 35 cents up to about 65 cents. Fairly inexpensive, but these have got to work, and they've got to start working probably today and then push into tomorrow. But any kind of movement there, just understand discipline will be a big part of that because this is a 48-hour trade. I got another one for you. KB Homes. We know how the home sector has been absolutely hammered. These builders have been just ripped upon, and everybody talking about all the negativity. Well, KB Homes today trading around $36. We had a buyer of 7,500 of the May 35 calls. They started when the stock was just below 36, but these have been in the money since they started buying. In other words, the strike price is underneath where the stock was. So at $1.45 to $1.65 is the cost that they were paying for these. Some of that already has that intrinsic value already. So just understand that. If you don't understand that, educate yourself on the options world. The derivatives world is powerful. It's strong. It's amazing. But you don't want to go there without the knowledge. You got to get that knowledge. You can get it almost anywhere. You can get it out of books. You can get it on the internet. And obviously there are coaches everywhere, including ourselves. And I love our guys at Market Rebellion. I think they do an absolutely amazing job. Bill Johnson and the gang are absolutely incredible. Folks, have a great day of trading. Look forward to seeing you. Well, actually, I'm not on the halftime report or the 5 o'clock show. I actually have today and tomorrow off. In case they call me, then maybe you'll see me then. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on the take.